Hi, my name is Nancy Howe from East Dorset, Vermont. My painting Frank Conversations practically begs you to ask the story behind the fox and crow characters here. But there's actually more than one story to tell. There's the obvious one playing out in front of you in this composition, and the metaphorical one that underlies it. The painting was not initially intended to feature birds, but to showcase a beautiful red fox, a regular visitor to our farm that my husband called Frank. Of all the photos I took of him, the one that intrigued me most was the pose you see here, where he appears to be looking up at something, a bird flying overhead perhaps. I had the idea of creating a dynamic composition of 3 of our resident crows with a humorous approach, where they were harassing this intruder to their home turf. We have a family of crows that for many years we've welcomed and encouraged by feeding trapped mice and scraps and peanuts. Trapping the mice didn't seem quite so objectionable to me in the context of recycling them back to nature through the crows. I photographed the crows taking off and landing from our mouse altar on the lawn and decided on these 3. I came up with the title for the painting very early on in the planning, even before coming up with the completed concept, which in my experience means to be alert for the particular meaning behind it. In keeping with the title's play on words and light approach, I started painting the sky a really bright, cheerful blue. And then I realized I was dissatisfied with how static the birds looked set off that way. So I started painting darker areas and clouds. It wasn't my intention, but I ended up with an area of the original bright blue at the intersection of the fox and the crows, which became the focal point for the composition. I accentuated this focus by creating a circular pattern with the bird positions, the landscape, the grass, that kept the eye moving and returning back to this area. To balance this busy composition with a sense of harmony, I designed arcs in the clouds and grass that mirrored those in the birds and used a limited color palette. Work on the painting progressed off and on over a period of months that tracked with the emergence of the pandemic. The title now clearly seemed to point to a more serious subject, the critical need for frank conversations about all aspects of our lives as the result of the changes the pandemic was forcing. The spot of clear blue sky came to represent the clarity that can result from these difficult but honest conversations. Though someone viewing the painting might appreciate it solely for its aesthetic merit, for me the metaphor offered further value in the wisdom it brought to light. This summer, as issues of racial injustice and inequality have folded over into those that the pandemic has laid bare, the painting's message of the importance of frank conversations has continued to resonate and be relevant.